Chapter 15, The Morning After, and the Illusion. As the bizarre and crazed goblin party raged on, the party started feeling trapped and was wondering how they were going to get out of here. The night had turned to day just minutes after the party started, but half an hour later, 13 goblins were still dancing and eating their herbs, which seemed to have a powerful effect on their minds, while their leader remained unconscious, but appeared to be stable. The goblins seemed either drunk or stoned, or both. At this point, Lightmane made a suggestion. "I say we just try to sneak away again and hope they don't notice this time." They tried to sneak away shortly after the party started, but the goblins kept grabbing them, laughing, and even tried to dance with them. Kish kept staring at Latia and was now smiling at her while dancing with the others. She kept trying to dance with her and kept calling her Gizadit. Latia really wanted to know what Gizadit meant in Goblin. She kept hoping and praying that it didn't mean lover or something along those lines. But when she expressed this concern to everyone, they tried really hard not to laugh. She asked Nightwind to ask Kish what it meant, but Kish just looked confused at his words and laughed and kept dancing. Nightwind: "Look, I wouldn't worry about it. It probably means mistress or queen or something like that. She's subservient to you. Nothing wrong with that." Latia: "Nothing wrong with that for the moment. Yeah, let's just try to sneak off." They slowly backed away, and it seemed like it had worked. So they turned and started walking. But then they heard the footsteps and stopped and looked back, and sure enough, there was Kish running up to them, saying something. Nightwind: "She's saying something like, 'Wait, he's not ready,' or something like that." Lightmane: "Tell her we have to leave now and say goodbye." Nightwind: "All right, I'll try." Turning to Kish: "We go by. Must leave. You stay." Kish looked confused and scared.
"No, must heal. He no walk. You wait. Help, please."
Nightwind translated as best he could. Jack: "Wait, they attacked us, and now they want us to wait? Why? Why did they attack us then?" Shinfia: I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say, because they're goblins?" Jack: "But she said they're like us, so why attack us then?" Nightwind liked Jack's logic, so he asked her. Kish:
"We saw prey. We attack prey, but you not prey. Hard to stop."
Latia, after Nightwind's translation: "Oh, wait, that kinda makes sense, if I understand her right. I think what might have happened was they attacked us out of instinct, seeing us in the dark, and once they attacked, they go into a kind of goblin frenzy maybe, which explains why you said, Nightwind, that goblins either fight to the death or flee, but never surrender. Kish said they're not like others. I guess she meant other goblins, so maybe, from her point of view, they're adventurers like us. At least adventurers if goblins went adventuring." Phileas looked at Latia oddly. "How many of those herbs did you eat?" Latia: "Phileas, think about it. I'm not saying they're adventurers, but maybe from their perspective they are? I mean, they're out here, and she said they walk around and look at things. That kinda sounds like a party. We've always been told that goblins and creatures like them usually only go out at night to hunt and sleep during the day, mostly, and the rest of their time they're in their caves, probably because it's safer for them, I'm guessing. How about we rest for a few hours and get our spells back and then see if he's awake? If he's not, maybe try to heal his wounds? Kenneth, you're suggesting I cast Cure Light Wounds on a goblin? Latia, well, if getting him conscious is the only way to get away from them without her freaking out, then yeah, maybe. Kenneth just shook his head. Did we all go through some rift in space or something and end up where goblins go adventuring and we heal them? I'm so confused right now. None of this makes any sense. I don't even know what we're doing anymore. But the party really didn't know what else to do. So they went back and rested until they got all their spells back. No rest was possible for about an hour, though, because the goblins wouldn't stop partying. But shortly after that, they became very tired and collapsed, except for Kish and two others. Kish sat near Latia and offered to try to bandage her wounds. Latia thought that was sweet of her, and then was shocked at what she just thought to herself about a goblin. Her brain was confusing her. Latia, Kenneth, you might be right, or maybe I'm just losing it. Nightwind, how do you say thank you in Goblin? Nightwind, thank you in Goblin? No clue, he said, laughing. Latia, oh, yeah, I guess there isn't any reason to learn how to say thank you to a goblin. She turned to Kish and said thank you. Kish had a blank look on her face, so Latia pointed to the bandages and her wound and then to her and said thank you again. Kish tried to say the words thank you, but couldn't. It sounded something like ink, ook, but very rough and throaty sounding. Latia, close enough, Kish, and you're welcome. Oh wait, I was trying to say thank you to you. Ugh, my brain isn't working very well right now. I need sleep, guys. Latia laid down and closed her eyes. Kish laid next to her and closed her eyes as well. Shinfia kept watch, as did two other goblins, one of which was a female. They just sat there, looking somewhat dazed, but occasionally looked at Shinfia, almost as if they were trying to figure out what she was or what she was doing. Shinfia said nothing, though, not wanting to disturb anyone. After a few hours, Jack, Phileas, and Kenneth all had their spells back, but Latia slept the whole time, so she didn't. She still needed to spend some time in prayer and meditation, but she wasn't up for it. She still wanted to sleep, but she also wanted to get going. But the goblin was still laying there, looking about the same. Kenneth sighed. Fine, here goes nothing. Can't believe I'm actually doing this. He walked over to the goblin and was about to cast a spell when Kish looked scared and cried out. Latia, Kish! Kish turned to Latia. It's okay. Nightwind, tell her. Kish seemed to understand and sat down next to him and watched. Kenneth, I think you're right. I think she's his mate. I mean, she looks very concerned about him. Kenneth cast Cure Light Wounds on the goblin. It didn't appear to do much, so he cast the other one, and again it didn't do much. But it did seem to maybe slightly heal the wound each time, but the goblin still laid there unconscious. Kenneth, great, now what? Latia, that's not a light wound, and he's unconscious. I'm told healing spells don't work nearly as well on someone who's unconscious, but they do work some. And who knows how effective they are on goblins anyway? Kenneth, I knew it wouldn't be as effective since he's unconscious, and you might be right about it not working well on goblins, but I was hoping he would have at least regained consciousness so she could talk to him maybe, and we could hopefully leave without her following us. I guess it was worth a shot. Lightmane, okay, let's reassess the situation. Okay, never mind. I don't even know where to begin. Nightwind, took the words right out of my mouth. Let's just rest until she's conscious and hope we can leave then. Latia, fine. I'm still tired anyway. Good night, or morning, whatever. Latia spent a short time in prayer and meditation before going back to sleep. A few hours later, Shinfia gently woke her up. Shinfia, hi, how are you feeling? Latia, much better, thanks. Shinfia, that's good to hear, because guess what? The goblins built themselves a stretcher, using branches and stuff. Latia, you're kidding. Shinfia, no, take a look. He's still out cold, too. Latia looked over at the goblin, and sure enough, they had built a crude but fairly decent-looking stretcher, and already had him laying on it. Latia and Nightwind walked over to Kish. Latia, Kish, it's time for us to say goodbye now. We are traveling to a keep. You can't go there. They would kill you if they saw you. You can't come with us. I hope everything goes well for you. Goodbye. Nightwind's translation of Latia's words was broken into parts and was much more crude sounding, but Kish apparently understood enough. Kish, sounding desperate.
No, we come. You walk, look at things. We walk, look at things. We come, please.
Latia, after hearing Nightwind's translation, oh my God, she said please. Nightwind, she's said please before. Latia, I know, but now it's a problem. Guys, she said, kind of nervously, the goblins want to go adventuring with us.
What do you say, guys?
She said, sounding like she might be losing her mind. Wanna, go adventuring with goblins? Doesn't that sound like fun? Huh? Now her smile was starting to look a little nuts. Belfin, speaking a little sarcastically and humorously.
Oh, that sounds just thrilling, Latia. Thrilling? That's what Dalma said, remember? May all your adventures be thrilling. Well, boy, they sure are thrilling now, aren't they?
Latia, sounding really worried.
Guys, what are we going to do?
Nightwind, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to travel to the keep now, and if they want to follow along, be my guest. Let's just go. Bewildered and confused, the party set out down the north road for the keep. It was more than halfway through the day now. They only hoped now that they'd reach it before night came. To no surprise to anyone, traveling just behind them were the goblins. Kish traveled next to her mate, that two goblins carried on a stretcher that they somehow managed to make. Tenneth, yep, they're following us, in case any of you were wondering. Jack, yeah, I figured that out when I, looked behind me and I said to myself, oh look, the goblins are traveling with us. Even Lightmane joined the satire, but he went deep. As you come into a clearing up ahead, you see a most strange and bizarre sight. 8 adventurers are coming up the road towards you. You see a dwarf, an elf, a gnome, a halfling, a half-elf, and 3 humans. It all sounds perfectly normal. A party of 8 adventurers. What could be more normal than that? But wait, there's more. For behind those 8 adventurers are 13 goblins, who are carrying another goblin on a stretcher. For those of you who are bad at math, that's a party of 22. 1 dwarf, 1 elf, 1 gnome, 1 halfling, 1 half-elf, 3 humans, 1 injured goblin, and 13 goblins. Just your typical everyday party of adventurers out adventuring. Life is good. Nightwind, having finally stopped laughing. I take back everything I've ever said about elves being dull and boring. Lightmane, your dry wit is killing me now. Everybody started laughing. The goblins looked at them strangely, wondering what was so funny. After a short way, the forest opened up into a huge clearing. About a mile north of them was another forest, or was it the same forest? They weren't sure. The clearing and the forest ahead of them both ran east and west. The road, though, kept going north for a couple thousand feet and then appeared to cross a river. As they could just make out what looked like a large bridge going across it. Beyond that, around a few thousand feet to the northeast, they could just barely make out what looked like a castle, high up on a small, rocky, mountain-like area. They started walking towards the bridge, and Nightwind turned to the goblins and pointed at the castle. There, people there. They will kill you and us. You must go now. Danger. You must go. Kish kept looking where Nightwind was pointing, and eventually saw the castle.
We walk river. We go river. River good.
Nightwind, all of a sudden, was wondering about something. Are you leader? At these words, the goblins laughed hard, and so did Kish. Kish.
No, she pointed to her mate. He leader. Me mate. Me with him. He leader.
Nightwind looked at him, but he was still out cold. Cursing under his breath, he told them to do what they wanted, and turned and was about to continue walking when Lightmane stopped him. Lightmane. Guys, we've got trouble. A caravan is coming down the road towards the bridge. Nightwind. Where? I don't see anything. Lightmane. They're too far away for any of you to see them, but I can see them, and if an elf is with them, they can see us too. Sheila. Well, let's hide. Lightmane. Where? We're in a clearing. Outside of some trees scattered all over the place, there's no place to hide. There's 22 of us. It's not possible. So we either go back to the forest and hide in there, or we come up with another plan. Latia. Okay, I guess we have to walk back into the forest and hide. This day is never going to end, is it? Phileas. Guys, this might be a little nuts, but I have an idea. Nightwind. Oh, good. What is it? Phileas. I haven't really worked it all out yet. Just an idea, and now I'm trying to work through all the possible problems. Just give me a moment. Phileas just stood there, lost in thought. Okay, I can't cast that spell yet, because it won't last long enough. I'm going to have to hide behind some of you first. Belfin. What spell? Phileas. Change self. Nightwind, we need the goblins to be totally quiet the entire time, and at some point you'll need to tell Kish to take the items out of her pouch. Just follow my lead. Nightwind. Follow your lead? I don't have a clue what you're talking about. Phileas. All right, I don't know if I've thought everything through, but listen up. Here's my plan. Phileas went over the idea he had and what he thought they should all do. Questions were asked, but they seemed to have a grasp of what his plan was. Lightmane. That's one crazy plan you just came up with, but oddly enough, it just might work. If it doesn't, though, I don't know what we're going to do. They tried as best they could to hide behind some trees and waited until the caravan crossed the bridge. Then they all started slowly moving forward. Immediately the caravan saw them and came to a sudden stop. That's when Phileas called out while they kept walking towards them. Phileas. Hail and well met, travelers. Do not be afraid. What you see is not real. There are no goblins here. We are a large party of adventurers who have all fallen under a horrible curse that has altered many of our appearances. I assure you, you are in no danger. The caravan had maybe 20 people in it total. They all moved into defensive positions and drew their weapons with 5 armored guards in front. One of the guards called out, Come no closer! You are with goblins! He turned towards the other guards and called out, Prepare to attack! Phileas immediately cast his Change Self spell and stepped forward. He looked just like a goblin. A short goblin, but close enough. Phileas, wait! We are not goblins, for see how I talk to you in your tongue? See how I don't sound anything like a goblin? That's because I'm not. I am a gnome. Guard, what sorcery is this? Let me hear the others speak. Come no closer. Phileas, they cannot speak. Only a few of us are still able to speak now, due to a dark curse. We pose no threat to you, I assure you. Please allow me to explain. May I continue? The guard hesitated, but then nodded. Go ahead. We're listening. Phileas. Thank you, good sir. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Phileas. I am a gnome, and the goblins that you see are all halflings or gnomes. They have all been rendered silent by a dark, magical curse that affected us this morning when we broke camp. Only myself and the dwarf can speak, but the dwarf only speaks goblin now, due to this dark curse. Those who look like goblins now only understand goblin. Why, I do not know. I don't understand any of it, but this is a very bizarre and dark curse. The guard was looking very confused. None of what you are saying makes any sense. Why on earth would I believe any of this? Phileas, good sir, if I may be allowed to continue, I will prove to you that they are not goblins. May I continue? Guard, shaking his head. Okay, let's hear it. Phileas, thank you. You are most gracious. This female goblin who's next to me is actually a cleric. Observe. Phileas nodded to Nightwind, who then told Kish to show her items, but say nothing. Amazingly, Kish obeyed, and pulled out her bandages, and then her healing salve, and then her herbs, all the while saying nothing. Phileas breathed a sigh of relief. Everyone in the caravan was shocked at what they saw, for no goblin ever carried such items. Phileas, I know this is all very confusing, but here is what happened. This morning we encountered a mysterious dark force. We all thought we were going to die, but instead it enveloped us all in darkness, and when we awoke, we were all under this dark curse.
I called out, 'How do we get rid of it?' And a dark voice spoke to me and said, 'Only by traveling to the bridge will its curse be removed. Until then, we are trapped like this. We hoped we wouldn't encounter anyone until we got to the bridge. We almost made it. May we please be allowed to pass around you? I assure you that no one will attack you. We just all want to go back to looking like ourselves. I'm not particularly fond of looking like a goblin. I'm sure you understand that.' At that moment, Jack whispered to Shinfia, 'I can't believe they're actually considering this ridiculous story.' Shinfia tried hard not to laugh. Everyone in the caravan looked dumbfounded, but now believed that this goblin that talked and sounded like a gnome just might be telling the truth. Guard, we're all very confused by your bizarre story, but as long as no one attacks us in any way, you are free to walk around us. But if you make any sudden moves, we will attack." Phileas thanked them profusely. "Okay, everyone, let's walk around them." Nightwind spoke quietly in Goblin. "We walk around them. Only walk. No fight. No talk." The party of 8 adventurers and 14 goblins walked around the caravan. As they did, they saw out of the corners of their eyes everyone in the caravan staring at them in utter bewilderment. Phileas, trying to sound happy. "Our curse will finally be lifted soon, friends." He then worried that the caravan might hang around and watch, so he quickly added, "Of course, we may have to camp out here for a while. No telling how long it will take for this curse to be removed." The guard, though, had 2 more questions. "Why do these not look like goblins, and why don't they speak?" Phileas was ready for those questions. "I do not know. The curse only turned the halflings and the gnomes into goblins, except for this one halfling, and none are able to speak now, but the dwarf. I am as confused about all of this as you are." The guard just shook his head. The party walked around them and headed back down the road. Jack, shocked that it worked. "Phileas, you are insane, but you just might now be a master illusionist, for you just convinced an entire caravan that the goblins they all clearly saw were just halflings and gnomes under a curse." Jack started clapping his hands, and then he bowed. The rest of the party, now laughing, joined in the clapping and bowing. Phileas, smiling. "Hey, I'm just glad I finally found a reason to cast Change Self," he said, laughing. They came to the bridge. They waited until the caravan was completely out of sight. The river was huge, maybe 300 feet wide. The bridge was also huge, obviously, but very well constructed. They guessed the keep had it built. Beyond the bridge, the road turned northeast. The river looked deep and menacing. They had no clue how they could cross it without that bridge. They were about to cross it when Latia saw Kish looking sad. She was crying again. Latia, "Oh no. Hold on, guys." She walked up to Kish with Nightwind. "What's wrong?" Kish, crying now. "This, bye. We no go you. Danger. Must stay. Bye." Kish and the goblins turned west and started walking along the river. A tear ran down Latia's face, and she had no clue why. Latia called out to Kish. "Kish, wait!" Latia walked towards her. Kish stopped and turned around and looked up at her. Latia slowly put out her hands and touched Kish on her shoulders. Then she slowly partly wrapped her arms around her and gave her a light half hug. Kish looked confused but didn't move, but then put her hand on Latia's arm. She pulled out some bandages and looked at Latia, and then the healing salve and looked at her again. Then she pulled out an herb and once more looked into Latia's eyes. She then touched Latia with the bandages, and then touched herself with them. Kish. "You. Me. Bye." About 1,000 feet beyond the bridge, the road turned east, but also north and south. The road south was a narrow trail that went to the river. The north road rose up a rocky path.
Maybe 1,000 feet up that path sat the keep. To the south, they could still hear the sound of running water and just make out the river. Several hundred feet south of the river was another forest, or maybe the same forest. They couldn't tell. Their journey to the keep had finally come to an end. A new adventure awaited them inside. Up the long and winding rocky road, Latia, confused and shaken, was having a hard time making sense of anything at the moment. The thought of a female goblin crying, walking away from her, and the fact that it somehow mattered to her made no sense to her logical brain. The party turned north and started walking up the road.